B650, B658 will be replied by the Honourable Prime Minister, time permitting. MP Nagalingo.
B579. Mr. Speaker, sir, in my replies to parliamentary questions B83 on 30th of March 2021 and B216 on 12th of April 2022, I elaborated extensively on the reasons why government does not intend to go ahead with the Freedom of Information Bill. I did, in fact, bring out the far-reaching implications of such a piece of legislation, especially its negative impact on public service delivery and on our public finance, particularly at this juncture, and the apprehended unintended negative consequences of such a piece of legislation. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is apposite for me to remind the House that the Freedom of Information Bill, which had been proposed initially, made provisions inter alia for the following: the setting up of an adequate mechanism for access to public information and its proactive disclosure, as well as record keeping and archiving. Additional human resources, for example, creation of a new grade of public information officer in all ministries and departments, or the assignment of the duties of the latter grade to serving officers, creation of a new post of Information Commissioner, recruitment of staff for the Information Appeal Tribunal, creation of new institutions such as Office of Information Commissioner and Information Appeal Tribunal, additional workload, burden, pressure to meet statutory deadlines, to provide the information requested, and training of staff to successfully implement the legislation. These provisions would inevitably have huge impact, not only on government recurrent budget, but also on public service delivery. Mr. Speaker, sir, the objective of a Freedom of Information legislation is mainly to reduce corrupt practices by enhancing transparency and accountability. However, such a legislation is only one among several other instruments available to enhance transparency and accountability in public institutions. I must remind and emphasize that government has taken numerous other initiatives to attain that same objective. It is opportune for me to update the House on the bold and effective measures which the government has been taking to consolidate and improve our overall governance framework in fulfillment of our commitment taken in the government program 2020-2024 to enhance transparency and accountability within our institutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, these measures include the following: the introduction of the Citizen Support Portal. Government has introduced the CSP as an innovative internet platform, accessible on the web and CSU mobile app, which enables any citizen to either register a complaint or a suggestion or make a query online and track progress on their query and complaint at any time. Since its inception in April 2017, to 18th of May 2023, the portal has registered 268,723 cases, out of which 245,897 cases have been resolved. The activities of the CSU provide our citizens with the possibility to seek information or assistance regarding government policies and programs, and they can also provide suggestions. The CSU is currently collaborating with the Ministry of Information Technology, Communication and Innovation on the chatbot project, which will further assist citizens to register their tickets or ask for information, and this project is nearing finalization. Second, the mandatory use of electronic procurement system in the public sector, with a view to modernizing the public procurement system and enhancing transparency and accountability. In the process, the Procurement Policy Office has taken the following measures. 1. Mandatory use of e-procurement system, whereby bidders receive notifications about bidding opportunities by email in real time. They can view the published procurement plan online, as well as submit bids electronically and attend the opening of bids online. 2. The Public Procurement Regulations 2008 have been amended to require public bodies to publish not only on its website, but also on the Public Procurement Portal of the Procurement Policy Office, a copy of the signed contract agreement form, letter of acceptance, bid submission form, addenda, if any, special or particular conditions of contract, and any amendments or variations made during the course of implementation of the contract. And third, the list of disqualified and debarred bidders, as well as the decisions of the independent review panel, are published on the website of the Procurement Policy Office and are accessible to the public. Third, we have the implementation of the National Open Data Portal. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry of Information Technology, Communication and Innovation has, in line with the e-government strategy, implemented the National Open Data Portal, which houses and provides links to data pertaining to government processes. This initiative empowers citizens and businesses to carry out data-driven projects such as development of mobile apps, data analysis, creation of innovative products and research, among others. By opening up data through the Open Data Portal, government aims precisely at promoting transparency inasmuch as citizens are able to freely access information on what the government is doing. In line with the public sector's business transformation strategy, 39 transformation implementation committees were set up in ministries and departments. 4. The implementation of the public sector transformation strategy. The government has approved the implementation of the public sector transformation strategy with a view to modernizing our public service and providing efficient and effective services to our citizens. The strategies are based on 10 pillars, one of which is precisely strong governance, which provides for the right oversight and guidance for ethics, compliance, integrity, transparency, and accountability. Another pillar of the strategy relates to public and customer satisfaction, which emphasizes easy access to information on government services by the public and clients. Fifth, the live broadcast of the proceedings of the National Assembly, another powerful measure to enhance transparency, is the introduction of live broadcast of the proceedings of the National Assembly as from March 2017, including the live telecast on the Appropriation Bill and Committee of Supply. This live broadcast has significantly enhanced parliamentary democracy in Mauritius and demonstrates the commitment of government to transparency and openness. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the same vein, the Government Information Service has taken a number of initiatives for greater openness and wider and more effective dissemination of information to the public. These measures include the following. 1. Presence on social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to provide timely official communiques, notices, press releases, and news items, photos, regarding government activities to the public at large. 2. According to Facebook Insights, GIS Mauritius has the following statistics for the period 20th April 2023 to 18th of May 2023. People reached more than 314,000. Post engagements, that is, sharing a post, 282,000. Third, setting up of a media WhatsApp group, which includes all newsrooms for accurate and timely dissemination of official communiques, notices, press releases, and news items and photos to the media regarding government activities. Fourth, disseminating communiques of the Mauritius Meteorological Service and those of the National Emergency Operations Command during cyclones and heavy rain warnings. And fifth, dissemination of government functions on a daily basis and the highlights of cabinet decisions on a weekly basis on the mobile app of the GIS Search Gov. Although it is also pertinent that the Facebook page of GIS Mauritius has never been sponsored through digital marketing, the increasing engagement between the public and the Facebook page of GIS Mauritius is indicative of the fact that the GIS is considered as a trusted source of accurate and official information. Mr. Speaker, sir, this government stands committed to pursue its transparency, accountability, and corruption-free agenda with renewed vigor and determination. In fulfillment of this commitment, government has taken several additional measures over and above those I have just enumerated. Let me mention a few of these additional measures. 1. Following the enactment of the Declaration of Assets Act, certain information on the declaration filed by members of the National Assembly and the Rodrigues Regional Assembly and local councillors are made accessible to the public through the website of the Independent Commission Against Corruption. As from April 2022, the application of the Declaration of Assets Act has been extended to cover every officer of the departmental grade in the Mauritius Prison Service, as recommended by the Commission of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking. 2. A host of measures was taken by Mauritius to comply with the Financial Action Task Force requirements, following which, on 7th of January 2022, the European Commission has removed Mauritius from its list of high-risk third countries. 3. The launching of the Corporate Governance Scorecard for Mauritius, which is a major milestone in the journey of governance development for the country. 4. The Statutory Bodies Accounts and Audit Act has been amended so that all statutory bodies have to prepare their accounts under the International Public Sector Accounting Standards accrual framework. The IPSAS framework is a fair and transparent mode of reporting. 5th, the Finance and Audit Act was amended to require every ministry and government department to prepare an annual report on performance and to make it mandatory for ministries and departments to include an implementation plan in the annual report for preventing recurrence of shortcomings reported by the Director of Audit. 6. To further strengthen accountability and transparency in the management of public funds, as from financial year 2021-2022, the budget estimates document includes strategic overviews of ministries. It provides an overview of their strategic directions for public service delivery over the next 3 fiscal years with the funds appropriated by the National Assembly. Information on public debt report on Mauritius published by IMF, World Bank, African Development Bank is also available on the website of the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development. 7. The Ministry of Public Service, Administrative and Institutional Reforms, in collaboration with the Independent Commission Against Corruption, has since October 2020 developed a set of guidelines on the exercise of discretionary powers to prevent any potential risk and uphold integrity, transparency, and accountability in the public sector. And 8, the conduct of 2 corruption risk assessments at the level of each ministry and department has started in financial year 2020-2021 in collaboration with the Independent Commission Against Corruption with a view to enhancing transparency and promoting an ethical work culture in the public service. This exercise is currently being implemented in all ministries and departments. The conduct of the 2 corruption risk assessments has been extended to parastatal bodies and state-owned enterprises in financial year 2021-2022. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the light of all these salient facts, government maintains its decision not to go ahead with a Freedom of Information Bill at this stage. However, government shall resolutely continue to take all such measures as are deemed necessary to further consolidate our overall good governance framework.
Mr. Speaker, sir, if I can remind the Honorable Prime Minister, in the Manifeste Electoral 2014, he mentioned the Freedom of Information Act sera introduit pour garantir la transparence. C'est dans le manifeste électoral du MSM. Can I ask the Honorable Prime Minister, how do you reconcile your answer with the following? Our promise in the latest Mauritius report to the African Union to pass the Freedom of Information Act, and the observation of the African Union that this has not been fulfilled yet, as is stated by Geoffrey Robertson, and the FOI is part and parcel of the democracy, an important pillar of transparency and good governance. Is the Honorable Prime Minister aware that several prominent members of SADC, including South Africa, Tanzania, Mozambique, have already enacted a Freedom of Information Act, and out of 193 countries, 125 have a Freedom of Information Act according to UNESCO?
Mr. Speaker, sir, first of all, let me, maybe the honourable member reads only some of our manifesto. He does not read all the manifestos. Is he aware that in our last political manifesto and in our last government program, after winning the general election in 2019, there is no mention of any introduction of a Freedom of Information Bill. None. I think you better have a look at this one also. Now, the honourable member is talking about the SADC countries. SADC countries, I think he has been in previous government, and SADC countries have also been discussing about freedom of information. Et, Monsieur le Président, ce que j'admire avec l'opposition, je dois dire, cette opposition, c'est que quand ils sont au gouvernement, ils parlent d'un langage. Quand ils sont dans l'opposition, ils parlent d'un langage qui est totalement contraire au langage qu'ils parlent quand ils sont au gouvernement. Je vais peut-être rafraîchir la mémoire surtout de l'honorable Nagalingam, du MMM. Let me refer him to a question that was asked on the 31st of October 2000, when the MMM were in government. 31st of October 2000. We just won the election. And the question B136 was asked by Dr. Arvind Boulel, member of the Labour Party, to the acting Prime Minister, that is Honorable Paul Béranger, who was replying, whether legislation on freedom of information will be introduced in the House. And the reply, I quote, "Sir, as the honourable member is aware, the idea of a Freedom of Information Act appeared in the electoral manifesto of the previous government, that is, the Labour Party MMM government. Nearer to us during the Beaubassin and Petite Rivière by-election in September 1999, the Labour Party PMXD alliance campaigned intensively on this basis and promised that as a matter of urgency, they would introduce a Freedom of Information Bill. We all know the dubious circumstances in which that by-election was fought and won. However, it is noted that the outgoing government has done nothing during its mandate. On this issue also, there has been a lot of talk, but no action." This is what the MMM is saying to the address of the Labour Party. A lot of talk and no action. Now, let me quote another part. Honorable Béranger continues to say, I quote, "This government has promised to govern in full transparency, but unlike the previous one, we are going to put into practice what we have promised." And further stated, This government believes in freedom of information. The whole idea is to enable members of the public to have access without difficulty to information which is in the public domain. A number of measures will be taken to guarantee such access. Some of these measures include provision of information about the operations and functions of public authorities, and provision of access to official documents in the possession of such authorities. And Honorable Béranger concludes by saying, I can assure the House, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that we mean business. Legislation to provide the necessary framework for better access to information will be introduced at the opportune time. And in that context, I have been informed that a bill had already been prepared and had been submitted to the former government, but there had been no action taken on that piece of information. 5 years, 5 years, and there has been not even a bill that has been circulated, and I can quote other instances, Mr. Speaker, sir, where the opposition has been all the time saying that they will be coming with a freedom of information bill, the Labour Party in particular, on so many occasions, and nothing has been done. So when you are in government, you advocate, you say, ah, mucha toile là, mucha tas to lame te lipia mucha met kadna.
Order.
Mucha met an kadna, dit Mr. Speaker, sir.
Order. Honorable Boulel.
Heureusement, moi qui dis tais-toi.
Honorable Boulel, you just came back. Be patient. Be patient. So if you...
So you see, when you should not be when you're in the opposition, then you start to say, well, where's the freedom of information bill, and so on and so forth. You have to be consistent. This is what I'm saying.
Honorable Lachman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. With regard to the freedom of information legislation in other jurisdictions, if ever the Prime Minister has the information, can he shed some light upon to the cost implied too? Because I've been looking around and I can see that Australia does have one, and I think there are some costs associated. If you can just provide some further information with regard to that. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is one of the issue that has to be considered and has been considered by different governments before. Let me say, with regard to figures that have been provided. In the United Kingdom, for the year 2005, the cost was £35.5 million. That is almost 2.1 billion rupees. In Canada, for year 2000-2001, the cost was 28.8 Canadian dollars, that is 1.1 billion rupees. In the United States, for year 2005, the cost stood at $382.2 million, that is about 19.1 billion rupees. And in Australia, for the year 2008-2009, the cost was 30.3 million Australian dollars, that is 910 million rupees. In Iceland, in the year 2009, the cost was 6.9 million euros, that is some 350 million rupees.
Last question, Honorable Tu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. At the beginning of his reply, the Honourable Prime Minister mentioned the fact that the implementation of a freedom of information legislation can have unintended negative consequences. Can he provide any tangible example of such unintended consequences, please?
Honourable Prime Minister, before you reply to this question, let me remind the House that when you ask a question, the next question you should show signed expression of it. Please, listen. Listen to the speaker. This is very bad manners. The speaker is on his feet is speaking, and you try to rebut. What, rebut what? Listen to standing orders. After putting the question, you should, for the next supplementary question, express your interest. You did not. Honorable Béranger, you don't have the right to discuss with me. I am on my feet. This is bad manner. This is very bad manner. You don't talk. You have nothing to talk to the speaker. So next time, for now, the Honorable Prime Minister will be replying to this question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. So in its 2016 Public Access to Information for Development report, the World Bank highlighted, in fact, 3 cases of those unintended negative consequences. One, in India, the legislation has led to greater public mistrust of government and has damaged democracy. The American democracy has become dysfunctional, partly because of excess in transparency. Too much openness has undermined the effectiveness and legitimacy of government. In UK, the former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, who introduced the Freedom of Information Act in the year 2000, has himself admitted that he regrets the act. He described the act as dangerous and utterly undermining of sensible government. Now, for his part, the former Prime Minister, David Cameron, stated that, and I quote, "We spend, or the system seems to spend, an age dealing with freedom of information requests, which are all about processes, and actually what the public or the country want to know is how much money are you spending, is that money being spent well, and what are the results?" End of quote. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will not mention also what has been published in 2012 by the Ministry of Justice, research that was conducted precisely with regard to the fact that what was the impact and the effect of freedom of information. Let me just, for the benefit of the House, quote what was concluded, and I quote, "The Freedom of Information Act has failed to increase understanding of government, may have reduced trust, and has done little to improve decision-making in Westminster," unquote.
The table has been advised that PQ B583, B588, B589, B590, B592, B593, B594, B595, B580 have been withdrawn. Time over. Honourable members, let me remind the House on that question of catching the eyes. The standing order clearly stipulates that in order for any member to have the right to put a question, he should catch the eye of the speaker. So abide by this principle instead of shouting, "Speaker, Speaker, Speaker," like this. This is not the principle. Check with the House of Commons, check with the skinme, and you will learn the principle. My eye was on Honourable Boulel. I will concentrate. So, PQ B597 will be replied by the Honourable Minister of Information, Technology, Communication and Innovation. PQ B605 will be replied by Honourable Minister of Blue Economy, Marine Resources, Fisheries and Shipping. PQ B624 will be replied by the Honourable Minister of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training, Minister of Commerce and Consumer Protection. Now I call Honourable Osman Mohamed.
B596.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I shall reply to question B596. For all major and national strategic projects bringing substantial transformation, a feasibility study is essential. The same principle applies to the Phase 4 of the Metro Express project. A feasibility study has been carried out. I wish to reassure the House that the feasibility study adopted a rigorous methodology and comprehensive approach, including an extensive stakeholder management plan. Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of the fact that a procurement exercise in respect of Phase 4 of the Metro Express project is ongoing, and the feasibility study obviously contains a number of proprietary and commercially sensitive information, it cannot be disclosed at this stage. Thank you.
The procurement exercise started last year. It must have been completed by now. Anyway, this is not my question. My question is, being given that during the last debate on the subject in PQ B223, 2223 of 18 April 2023, the Honorable Ganu admitted, notwithstanding the fact that a feasibility study was done for Phase 3, Rosil-Réduit, only 2,000 passengers per day, albeit not paying because students and senior citizens, instead of 15,000 passengers, therefore meaning a total failure. In the light of this, can I ask the Honourable Minister to at least give us some indication of the elements contained, because public funds are involved. Phase 3 is a total failure. Phase 4 looks like it's going to be a total failure. Can I ask him to provide at least some figures of the expected number of passengers?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't think I have to reply to something that's not pertain to this question. That's the Honourable Member's own observation. All I can say at this stage, in respect of the fact that I mentioned again, a tender exercise is in process and commercially sensitive information cannot be given. But an estimation of passengers has been made, and it will start 16,000 passengers and may end up to 30,000 passengers. Thank you.
Now, make sure you don't give your opinion. You don't state your opinion. Put question directly. This is supplementary question. If you want to check your standing order, please.
If it's in the national interest, I have to give my opinion.
The chair is not interested in national or international. The chair is interested in rules and regulations of the National Assembly.
Yes.
Don't invent parliament.
I just want to go to the Honourable Prime Minister. He just said just now, quand nous sommes de cet côté de la Chambre, nous parlons de certain langage, mais quand nous sommes de l'autre côté...
No, come on.
No.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Others, you see on this order paper, how many questions are waiting for replies?
Yes, okay.
Don't make an abuse of your right to put questions, and don't lose the time of the House.
Okay. Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether this 15,000 passengers per day that he has just mentioned will be sufficient to finance back the 13.5 billion rupees that this line is touted to cost taxpayers?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the question is about the feasibility study conducted, and if a copy can be tabled, I've already replied to the question, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Next question.
B597.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I humbly request you to bear with me. I have a lengthy reply just to be able to give all the details. Following announcement made in the budget speech 2020-21 for the deployment of wireless local network area in 155 secondary schools in Mauritius and Rodrigues, my ministry initiated discussions with the main stakeholder, the Ministry of Education, Tertiary Education, Science and Technology, in August 2020 for the latter ministry to submit its concise requirements. Consequently, meetings were held with officers of the Ministry of Education in August, September, and November 2020, where it was agreed that the project would consist of procurement of relevant equipment as well as provision of connectivity services to cater for the entire secondary schools. That is all classes, specialist rooms, that is home economics, design and technology, computer labs, administrative blocks, among others. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is to be noted that during the period 10th March to 30th April 2021, the country was in total lockdown, and thereafter further sanitary restrictions were in place, resulting in lesser economic activities, and only an immediate number of public officers were called upon to ensure service delivery and business continuity. This had an impact on the whole process of the project. Nevertheless, the Central Informatics Bureau, CIB, which is the technical team of my ministry, works on the specification of this project, along with the stakeholders concerned, and given its project value, which was 170 million, the bidding documents were submitted to the Central Procurement Board for vetting and floating of tenders on June 2021. Various meetings were held at the level of the CPB, during which a number of clarifications were thought and agreed upon. Thereafter, in line with the recommendations from the CPB, the tender was amended and launched in January 2022, with a closing date fixed for the 9th of March 2022 and extended till the 6th of April 2022. However, several queries were received from potential bidders, and upon request of the latter, the closing date was extended till 12 April 2022. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 27 May 2022, my ministry was informed by the Central Procurement Board that none of the bids received was found to be responsive after the evaluation exercise carried out. Mr. Speaker, sir, taking the consideration of the urgency of the project, on June 2022, an alternative solution was approved at the level of my ministry for the project to be implemented in two parts, that is, the connectivity part and the infrastructure part. As in the meantime, on the 9th of June 2022, my ministry has signed a framework agreement for the government intranet system that we call the GINS with Mauritius Telecom Limited after a tender procedure. Therefore, the project would have been broken into two components. One, that is provision of the wireless LAN infrastructure in secondary schools by a potential supplier, and two, the connectivity services provided under the GINS framework, as I mentioned above. Mr. Speaker, sir, consultations were held anew with stakeholders concerned, and a new bidding document for the provision of wireless LAN infrastructure in secondary school were prepared by the CIB and sent to the Central Procurement Board in August 2022 for its vetting prior for the launching of the tender. Subsequently, additional clarification were sought on specific items of the bidding documents, including the cost estimates, and various meetings were held in November and January to finalize the bidding documents. Further clarification was submitted again in February 2023 on the bidding documents, and on March of this year, the Central Procurement Board requested my ministry for additional information, including the revised cost estimate, taking into account the external factors which have impacted on the increase in the price of various commodities, including IT equipment, that is the fluctuation of foreign exchange, the COVID-19 pandemic increase in the cost of freight, and shortage of chips or semiconductors, and non-availability of specific IT equipment on the international market, among others. This was reiterated in the meeting held at the CPB in March 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, in this regard, in March, a committee was set up at the level of my ministry with the technical teams and representative of the Ministry of Education to work out an updated cost estimate. Meetings were held again in March and April, and I was informed that there have been a considerable increase in the project value due to the reasons I mentioned above. Therefore, in line with established procedures in such cases, my ministry has approached the Ministry of Finance on April 2023 for financial clearance on the revised project value. A reply is currently awaited. Mr. Speaker, sir, pending completion of the tender procedure for the main project, connectivity has been successfully deployed in the computer rooms of 47 secondary schools through the GENS project on a temporary basis. It should be noted that the required infrastructure was already in place in those schools. And I'm tabling the list of these 47 schools.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in the reply to a PQ B430 dated 22nd May 2018 by Osman Mohammed, the Minister of Education asserted that she was informed by the then ICT Minister that the connectivity project would be completed by the end of June 2018. And now this new Minister of ICT is further extending perhaps the year for the completion of the work. Will the Minister inform parents and students how soon we are going to have this connectivity in schools? Because they have been waiting for long.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I mentioned in my reply that the deployment of wireless local area network in 155 secondary schools, including Mauritius and Rodrigues, was announced in the budget 2020-2021. I cannot reply to the member of what was said in 2018 when this particular project, not comparable to the previous one, because the previous one was connectivity in certain classes only. This new project, announced in 2020-2021, provides for connectivity in all the classes, in all the premises of the school. So this is a new one. The idea is the same, to have connectivity, but not in a specific area, but in the whole compound. So I explained in my reply, that's why I took time of the House to give a lengthy reply of the procurement exercise. That takes time. We have had discussion. A survey has to be done in all the schools to understand the infrastructure of the school, because there are civil works to be done in those schools, and connectivity will come afterwards, and how we have gone for the process of the tendering exercise through the CPB, and what is the status as of now.
Mr. Speaker, sir, given that the Director of Audit has been very critical regarding the way this connectivity project has been mishandled, especially financially, will the Honourable Minister inform the House what is the estimated amount of public funds which will be invested in this project? Because since its inception, it has been going on. We mentioned 170 million in 2021, 2022, and also to inform the House if any sum has been recouped from the liquidated damages.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the question that has been put by the member is where matters stand for this current project. What he's referring to is the project that was initiated in 2013 by the then government. So we have a lot to say on that particular project. If he comes with the question, and he has courage to come with that particular question, how the seed was put then and the tree grew up very badly. On this particular project, I have mentioned that in the financial year, the budget voted was 170 million, and due to the various external factors which we don't control, we have the team, the Central Informatics Bureau and other stakeholders have worked a new revised estimate which have been sent to the Minister of Finance to have a clearance. Eventually, once we have all the exact information, we could give all details to the House.
The table had been advised that PQ B611, B641, B646, have been withdrawn. Honourable members, I'll suspend the sitting for 1.5 hours.